In the vast blue expanse of the Pacific, a confrontation unfolded in June 1942 that would forever alter the course of World War II. Welcome to the Battle of Midway, a clash so significant that historians still debate how close it came to flipping the tide of the entire war. But first, let's set the scene. It's 6 months after Pearl Harbor, and the Japanese Imperial Navy is riding high on a wave of conquests. From the Philippines to Malaya, Japan seems unstoppable. Their next move? A plan to lure the U.S. Pacific Fleet into a trap and annihilate it at Midway Atoll, a tiny speck of coral in the middle of nowhere. Think of it as the chessboard where Japan aimed for checkmate. However, there was one small hiccup in their otherwise flawless plan: American cryptographers. These unsung heroes had cracked the Japanese naval code, giving the U.S. a sneak peek at Japan's moves before they even played their hand. It's like knowing your opponent's poker cards. And trust me, Admiral Chester Nimitz was ready to go all in. Nimitz's strategy was simple but daring. Use this intelligence to set an ambush of his own. With 3 aircraft carriers, the Enterprise, Hornet, and the recently repaired Yorktown, he positioned the U.S. fleet north of Midway, lying in wait for the Japanese armada. Now, let's talk about the day of the battle. Picture this: June 4th, 1942, dawn breaks over the Pacific. Japanese bombers scream through the skies, attacking Midway in a thunderous show of force. But unbeknownst to them, American scout planes are already tailing their fleet, relaying positions back to Nimitz. Here's where the story gets wild. The U.S. launches wave after wave of aircraft, and let's just say the first attacks didn't go great. Torpedo squadrons were mowed down by Japanese fighters in a display so tragic it's hard to call it anything but a massacre. Out of 41 planes, only 6 returned. But then, the miracle moment. American dive bombers arrived, almost by accident, at the perfect time. The Japanese carriers had just finished refueling and rearming their planes, which meant their decks were essentially floating bombs. In a span of just 5 minutes, yes, 5 minutes, 3 of Japan's 4 carriers, the Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu, were set ablaze. The 4th carrier, Hiryu, retaliated, damaging the Yorktown, but by the end of the day, it too was destroyed. The outcome? Devastating for Japan. They lost 4 carriers, over 250 aircraft, and their best pilots, a blow from which their navy would never recover. Meanwhile, the U.S. lost 1 carrier, the Yorktown, but walked away with a strategic and psychological victory that shifted the momentum of the Pacific War. Let's put this in perspective. Before Midway, Japan was on offense, expanding its empire with ruthless efficiency. After Midway, they were on defense, scrambling to hold on to what they had conquered. It was the Pacific War's turning point, a David and Goliath story where intelligence, strategy, and a little bit of luck turned the tide. But what makes Midway truly legendary is the human element. From the code breakers who deciphered Japanese plans to the pilots who braved hellish conditions to strike the decisive blows, it's a tale of heroism that echoes through history. So next time someone tells you war is just numbers and strategy, remind them of Midway, the battle where a tiny atoll in the Pacific became the stage for one of history's greatest upsets.